So picture this. You are standing right in the middle of a kindergarten classroom in Japan.
Oh, man. Okay.
Right. The walls are just covered in those colorful kanji charts. And there's this constant, like, low hum of 30 tiny humans buzzing with absolute energy.
A very specific, very loud type of
Yeah,
energy.
exactly. And you are the assistant language teacher,
Yeah.
the ALT. And you have this beautifully crafted, highly engaging English game all ready to go.
You've practiced it. You're totally ready.
You are so ready. You pull out a flashcard, and suddenly, right in the front row, a 4-year-old child just completely shatters.
Oh,
I
no.
mean, they start crying hysterically.
Yeah.
Or maybe they literally throw the flashcard across the room.
Or they just completely freeze up.
Right, just staring at the floor with this look of sheer panic.
Yeah.
And here's the catch. You do not speak fluent Japanese.
And they barely speak a word of English.
Exactly. And all the eyes in the room, all 30 pairs of eyes, are suddenly darting between the crying child and you. What do?
What is so fascinating here is the sheer cascade of biological and, social triggers happening in that single second.
It's basically a nightmare scenario for a new teacher.
It really is, because your own cortisol spikes. The child is in full fight-or-flight mode, and you have the added layer of a massive cultural and linguistic barrier.
Right, the language thing just amplifies the panic.
Completely. It is a moment where all your theoretical lesson planning just evaporates, and you are left with pure human reactivity.
Which is an incredibly daunting place to be.
Yeah.
But what if there was a completely different way to approach that exact moment?
And that's what we're looking at today.
Yes. Today's deep dive is grounded in this highly specific, utterly fascinating training manual. It's called Big Feelings, Small Learners, a playful learning training manual.
Such a great title.
It is. And it was designed specifically for these ALTs working in Japanese early education settings. So daycares, nursery schools, kindergartens. And its entire purpose is to teach these language teachers how to handle intense emotional moments without, overstepping their professional boundaries.
And while the manual is laser focused on toddlers in Japan, if we kind of pull back and connect this to the bigger picture, it is essentially a masterclass in how humans navigate big emotions across any barrier.
Any barrier at all.
Exactly. We are going to explore how something the manual calls low language and high warmth can create this profound sense of safety.
Low language, high warmth. I love that.
It's brilliant. The emotional coaching principles we are going to extract are rooted in incredibly deep, scientifically profound psychology.
Yeah.
At its core, it is about how one human can literally let another human borrow their calm nervous system.
I absolutely love that phrasing. Borrow a calm nervous system.
It's so visceral.
It really is.
Yeah.
So for you listening right now, whether you are an educator, a parent, a manager trying to deal with a stressed out team, or just someone insanely curious about human behavior, this is going to fundamentally change how you view a meltdown.
Because the manual forces us to completely redefine what a meltdown even is.
Right. It leans heavily on early childhood guidance to establish that a child's behavior is actually their primary form of communication.
Yes. Long before they have the vocabulary to explain that they are feeling overwhelmed or anxious, they communicate those emotions through actions.
Like crying, hiding, grabbing things, running around.
Freezing up, yeah, that is a language. It is the only language they have access to in a state of distress.
And they don't just pull this out of thin air, right?
Yeah.
The manual draws on a wealth of established research to make this point.
Oh, absolutely. It cites WIDA's early years, multilingual guidance, NAEYC standards, the Gottman Institute's emotion coaching, MEXT, which is the Japanese Ministry of Education, and Harvard's serve and return concept.
Okay, let's unpack this, because you just dropped a lot of heavy academic acronyms on us.
Fair enough, I did.
I am familiar with the Gottman Institute, mainly from their work on marriage and relationships. But how does all of this connect to a crying kid in a Japanese classroom? And, what exactly is Harvard's serve and return?
Okay, so this raises an important question about how brains actually develop. Serve and return is a framework from the Harvard Center on the Developing Child.
Yeah.
Think of a baby or a toddler interacting with an adult, like a game of tennis.
Tennis. Got it.
The child serves by babbling, pointing, or in the case of our kindergarten scenario, throwing a flashcard or crying.
Right. They hit the ball over the net.
Exactly. And the adult returns the serve by responding appropriately. making eye contact, offering comfort, or naming the feeling.
So returning the serve isn't just ignoring it.
No, not at all. When an adult returns the serve consistently and warmly, it literally builds and strengthens neural pathways in the child's brain.
Oh, wow.
But if the adult ignores the serve or responds with hostility like, stop that right now, those neural pathways do not form properly.
So the crying isn't just an interruption of the English lesson. It is a neurological serve.
Precisely. And this leads right into the WIDA and NAEYC standards mentioned in the manual.
Remind me what those stand for.
Sure, WIDA focuses on multilingual learners, and NAEYC is the National Association for the Education of Young Children.
Right, okay.
Both organizations emphasize that a child's primary foundational need is not academic instruction.
It's not learning the ABCs.
No, it is a secure relationship. The manual synthesizes this to show that early education English is not actually about language acquisition in the traditional rigorous sense of memorizing vocabulary.
Because if a child doesn't feel biologically safe.
Their brain cannot process new linguistic information. Learning shuts down completely.
That makes total sense. Like, think of the brain like a house.
Okay, I like this.
The amygdala, the remote emotion and survival center, is the overly sensitive smoke detector in the kitchen.
Yes.
When a kid is overwhelmed by a new language, a loud classroom, or just being 4 years old, that smoke detector goes off.
It starts blaring.
Right. And the prefrontal cortex, of the logical language processing part of the brain, or the person living in the house, they can't sit down and study English flashcards while the smoke alarm is blaring.
They cannot.
They have to deal with the alarm first.
That is a phenomenal way to visualize it. And as adults, our first instinct is often to just yank the battery out of the smoke detector.
Totally. Just make the noise stop.
Right. We want to stop the behavior immediately because it is disruptive. We say, stop crying, sit down, be quiet.
But the manual says no.
Exactly. Drawing on the Gottman Institute's emotion coaching research, it emphasizes that we have to address what triggered the alarm.
And how do we do that?
The primary tool for that is giving the child a word for their internal state. Naming feelings sad, angry, scared gives children the ultimate power.
But wait, how does giving a child a simple English word, a foreign word, no less for their frustration, actually lower their heart rate?
It seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, because logically you'd think throwing a completely foreign vocabulary word at a panicked kid would just confuse them more.
It's less about the linguistic translation and more about the neurological mechanism of being witnessed.
Being witnessed.
Yeah. When an adult steps in, stays calm, and simply names the emotion, you look angry, it forces the prefrontal cortex back online.
Interesting.
In psychology, there is a phrase coined by Dr. Dan Siegel. Name it to tame it.
Name it to tame it. I've heard that.
Right. So even if the word is in English, the physical act of a trusted adult observing, recognizing, and labeling the child's state acts as a soothing mechanism.
So it's the attention, the validation.
Yes.
Okay.
It signals to the child's brain, I am seen, I'm understood. This giant adult knows what is happening to me, which means I am not in immediate mortal danger.
Wow.
The smoke detector starts to quiet down because the threat has been identified.
I am seen. That is so incredibly powerful. But here's the tricky part.
There's always a tricky part.
If behavior is communication, right, and a kid throws a heavy wooden block across the room to communicate that they are frustrated.
Very clear communication.
Very clear. But the adult's immediate overwhelming urge is to jump in, stop the block, and fix the behavior. You want to discipline them? Tell them no.
Of course.
But this manual strictly forbids the ALT from doing that.
It does. And this is where the manual moves from general childhood psychology into the highly specific, deeply cultural, operational reality of a Japanese classroom.
Because the ALT isn't the main teacher.
Exactly. The ALT is positioned as a playmate, an entertainer, a window to the outside world. But when emotional moments strike, their role is rigidly defined. They are there to support.
Only support.
They are not the disciplinarian. The Japanese homeroom teacher, the HRT, leads all discipline, care, health, and safety decisions.
So the manual gives a really clear boundary for that.
It does. It provides this incredibly clear boundary sentence for the ALT. Support the feeling, protect the child, follow the teacher, keep the English simple.
And the central mantra of the whole manual really anchors that boundary. Right. It says, all feelings are okay, all behavior is not okay.
We really need to dissect that concept because it is the linchpin of their entire emotion coaching strategy. Validation is not permission.
Validation is not permission.
Right. It is crucial for the ALT to separate the internal emotion from the external action. The emotion, anger, sadness, fear, is always valid. It is a biological reflex.
You can't control feeling angry.
No, you can't. But the action hitting, biting, throwing can be entirely unacceptable because it violates the safety of the community.
Right.
So the ALT's job is to address and validate the emotion while completely deferring the discipline for the unacceptable behavior to the homeroom teacher.
Okay, I have to push back on this, though.
Go for it.
Because if you are an adult standing in a room, isn't it your primal instinct, maybe even your moral obligation, to enforce the rules?
It feels like it.
Right. If I see a kid bite another kid, stepping back and letting the HRT handle the discipline feels incredibly passive. It feels like you were just standing there doing nothing while chaos unfolds.
I get that.
I compare it to being a cool aunt or uncle. You provide the comfort, you bring the fun toys, but when it is time to hand down the grounding or the punishment, you look at the parents and say, well, that's your department.
Exactly.
But in a classroom, mid-tantrum, that has to require almost superhuman restraint.
It requires massive professional restraint and a complete setting aside of the ego.
The ego, yeah.
Adults often want to be the hero who fixes the situation, or they feel a deep need to prove to the other adults in the room that they have authority.
Like, look, I can control this room.
Yes. But in the Japanese context, the homeroom teacher is the ultimate authority. They know the child's developmental history, they know the family dynamics, and they are responsible for the cultural socialization of that child. The ALT is not.
So they just have to step back.
The manual provides a stark ALT can do, versus ALT should not do chart to enforce this restraint.
It's on the chart.
So ALTs can notice facial expressions and body language. They should not try to diagnose the child or guess deeper psychological causes.
Okay, so no armchair psychology.
Right. ALTs can use simple English emotion words. They should not force the child to explain their feelings in English.
I want to look closer at that separation of feeling and behavior, because the manual gives a concrete example.
It does.
If a kid is furious, the ALT is supposed to say, angry is okay. No hitting. Gentle hands.
Yes.
It is so sparse. It acknowledges the validity of the anger, but immediately draws a firm line on the safety of the behavior.
And notice what it actively avoids doing. It does not ask, why are you angry?
Which is usually the first thing we say.
Exactly. It does not say, stop being angry. It just states a biological fact. Angry is okay. Hitting is not. It is profound in its simplicity.
But, knowing the boundary in theory is one thing. When you are actually standing in a room with 30 kids and one of them is screaming at the top of their lungs, theory tends to evaporate.
It goes right out the window.
My brain would just blank out. You need a practical, immediate tool to help you stay within that boundary and actually execute the coaching.
Which is exactly why the manual does not just leave the ALT with theory. It provides a core operational script.
Right.
The 5-step emotion coaching model.
And I love this because it is so systematic. Step 1, observe.
Okay.
Step 2, name. Step 3, validate. Step 4, guide. Step 5, check.
Right.
And the manual says, if you are panicking and you forget everything else, they give the ALT a literal 10-second script to memorize. Just 5 short sentences.
Those are...
You look sad. Sad is okay. Breathe with me. Teacher help. Better.
It is almost poetic in how stripped down it is. But we really need to dissect the psychology of each of those 5 steps because none of them are accidental.
Let's do it.
Let's look at step 1. Observe. The manual tells the ALT to look at the face, body, voice, and situation before reacting.
Why start there?
Because taking that one physical beat, that one deep breath to observe, engages the adult's parasympathetic nervous system.
It calms the adult down first.
Yes. It prevents the adult from having their own amygdala hijack. It forces a moment of mindfulness before action.
And the suggested language for observing is just, I see.
Yes.
That is it.
Yeah.
You're just acknowledging, you're taking in the data, you aren't judging it.
Then you move to step 2. Name. Give the feeling a short label. Sad. Angry. We talked about how this engages the prefrontal cortex to tame the amygdala.
Right.
But notice it is often phrased as a question or a tentative statement like, you look sad.
Wait, why tentative? If a kid is crying, they are obviously sad. Why not just say, you are sad?
Because dictating a child's internal state can actually trigger more resistance.
Really?
Yeah. If a child is frustrated because they can't open a marker and you say, you are sad, their brain might reject that. They might think, I'm not sad, I'm mad.
Well, that makes total sense.
Right. Phrasing it as you look sad or simply sad allows the child to feel understood without the adult colonizing their reality. It invites them to correct you or agree with you.
And step 3, Validate, it is okay. Sad is okay.
This is the critical juncture. Why validate before you guide or correct? Because a brain in distress cannot process instructions until it feels biologically secure.
So you have to make them feel safe first.
Exactly. If you jump straight to sit down and be quiet, the child's defensive walls go up. Their brain is screaming, you do not understand the emergency.
Wow.
By saying sad is okay, you are essentially telling their nervous system, I am not a threat and your feelings are not a threat.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. At first glance, reading this 10-second script, it sounds mechanical,
Yeah.
robotic almost. You look sad. Sad is okay.
It does feel a little stiff on paper.
But it is basically an emotional fire drill. When a building is on fire, you do not sit down in the hallway and creatively invent a new escape route.
No, you don't.
You do not debate the thermodynamics of combustion with your coworkers. You follow the drill, walk to the stairs, proceed to the exit.
Right.
This script is a fire drill for the nervous system. The kid is on fire emotionally. You don't negotiate, you run the drill.
That is exactly the utility of it. When the smoke alarm is blaring, you need muscle memory. And step 4, guide, is where that drill provides the exit route.
Okay, what's the exit route?
Offer one safe action or one simple choice. Breathe with me. Gentle hands. Sit here.
Just one simple thing to do.
Yes. It gives the child's brain a concrete physical task to focus on, pulling them out of the emotional spiral and back into their physical body.
And finally, step 5.
Yeah.
Check. Better. Good breathing. Try again.
This reconnects the relationship after the storm has passed. It shows that the relational bond is unbroken by the conflict.
What strikes me is how this 5-step model perfectly avoids a trap that I know I fall into all the time, and the manual calls it over-talking.
Oh, we all do it.
As adults, we love to lecture. We want to explain the deep moral nuances of why sharing the red toy truck is important for the fabric of societal harmony. We use big words and long sentences.
And a child in distress hears exactly 0% of that lecture.
Nothing.
Nothing. The cognitive load is simply too high. The manual explicitly states a child in distress is not ready for a long English explanation.
So it's not about the words.
This entire model relies heavily on the adult's tone, their physical pacing, and their presence, rather than their vocabulary. It is about how you say sad is okay, the softness of your voice, the relaxation in your shoulders, not the complexity of the grammar.
But that script still relies on words.
Right.
You look sad. Breathe with me. What if you were looking at a 2-year-old who has 0 English?
A very real possibility.
They don't know what sad means, let alone breathe. Does this entire framework just collapse if there is no shared language?
That is the exact challenge the manual addresses with what they call low language, high warmth. And they establish a golden rule right up front.
Which is,
Do not punish a child for not using English during distress. Emotional safety comes first. The English exposure can wait until the child feels secure again.
so don't force the lesson.
Right. The goal in these moments isn't full comprehension. It is emotional connection and repeated exposure to useful English in a highly meaningful context.
But if you can't rely on words, what do you use? The manual provides a whole toolkit. Emotion cards they can point to, choice cards, physical gestures,
Yes.
and my personal favorite, a mascot named Mogu.
Mogu's great.
Mogu is described as a cute, round, white character with little red, yellow, and green dots on his forehead and a blue hat.
Mogu is actually a brilliant psychological tool rooted in play therapy.
Really? How so?
When a child is overwhelmed, direct adult interaction can feel incredibly threatening. Think about the physical dynamics. A giant adult making intense eye contact, asking you a direct question while your brain is misfiring.
It's way too intense.
Too intense. In language learning, there is a concept called the affective filter. When anxiety is high, the filter goes up and learning is blocked.
Okay, so how does a puppet help with that?
By routing the communication through a puppet or a mascot like Mogu, you lower the stakes and lower that affective filter.
Because they're not looking at you.
Exactly. The child does not have to look at the towering adult. They can look at the soft, non-threatening, round character. They can respond to Mogu. It diffuses the interpersonal tension.
Let's look at the too much language versus better ALT language examples they provide, because it really highlights the mechanics of this low language approach.
Okay, yeah.
The manual says a bad example of handling a snatched toy is saying, "Why did you take the toy from your friend? How do you think he feels now?"
That is a classic adult response.
Hmm.
It demands logic, empathy, sequential memory, and a complex verbal explanation from a child whose prefrontal cortex is currently offline due to anger.
It's just a wall of words.
It is way too much language. It will only escalate the frustration.
Now, the better ALT language example for the exact same situation.
Why?
You want toy, angry. Okay.
Yeah.
Gentle hands, say please.
So different.
It is so stripped down.
But from the perspective of cognitive load, it is perfectly calibrated.
Walk me through that.
Let's break it down. Toy. You want toy.
Hmm.
You are naming the object of desire, proving you understand the conflict without judging it.
Okay, yeah.
Angry. Okay. Naming and validating the emotion.
Right.
Gentle hands. Say please. Guiding the behavior. It relies on the child understanding maybe 3 words combined with clear, open-handed gestures.
Which they can process.
Exactly. The manual emphasizes that in an ESL environment, children may understand your face, your hands, and your tone long before they understand your words.
I am going to play devil's advocate for a second.
Oh, sure.
Aren't language teachers supposed to teach language? If an ALT is just pointing at cards and saying toy, angry doesn't dropping the grammar ruin the lesson.
Yeah.
It feels like they are failing at their fundamental job description.
It is a completely fair question, but it fundamentally misunderstands the goal of early childhood ESL.
Well, as I ask it, I realize the answer is kind of like working in an emergency room.
How so?
If a patient comes in profusely bleeding from a wound, you do not stand there and teach them the Latin medical terminology for their arteries.
No, you definitely don't.
You stabilize them. You stop the bleeding. Once they are stitched up and calm in a recovery room, then maybe you can give them the pamphlet on vascular health.
That is a perfect analogy.
When a kid is melting down over a toy, they're emotionally bleeding. You have to stabilize the room first.
Exactly. You cannot teach vascular health to someone in shock. And the manual gives specific physical gestures paired with these simple words to help stabilize that shock.
What kind of gestures?
Well, when the ALT says happy, they are instructed to smile with open hands. For sad, a finger near the eye with a soft face. For excited, a small bounce and then a freeze gesture.
It's full body.
It is full body, somatic communication.
But, you know, a cute puppet and some open-handed gestures are great for a kid who's feeling a little sad or a little shy. Mogu the mascot does not stop a flying chair. Pointing to a happy face card does not work when a child is full-on kicking the wall or trying to run out of the classroom.
Maybe it doesn't.
How does a low-language approach handle actual physical danger?
This is where the manual introduces a fast triage decision-making matrix for the ALTs. They call it the response ladder, and it is color-coded. Green, yellow, and red.
So let's start with green.
Green situations are minor. Mild shyness, slight disappointment, a quiet refusal to participate in a song.
Kind of everyday stuff.
Right. In a green scenario, the ALT's action is just to support. Use simple English, use a gesture, maybe offer the child the option to watch first, and just continue the flow of the lesson. You do not stop the train for a green situation.
Got it. Then you have yellow. Pause and coordinate. This is when crying continues for a while. A child refuses to join for several minutes. There is an ongoing conflict over toys. Or they are just getting repeatedly too overexcited and bumping into people.
In a yellow situation, the ALT needs to move physically closer to the child, try to reduce the stimulation in the room by quieting the game, and most importantly, signal or ask the homeroom teacher for support.
So you are pausing the normal flow to address the rising temperature in the room.
Exactly.
But then we hit the red level, and the manual is incredibly strict here. Red situations are hitting, biting, kicking, throwing hard objects, running away, injury, or intense panic.
Good dangerous stuff.
What is the protocol when the fire alarm is actually going off?
The protocol is immediate, decisive handoff. The manual states clearly, red level English should be minimal.
Beaming.
In these unsafe moments, the ALT is explicitly instructed, do not negotiate, do not lecture, do not make jokes to lighten the mood, and absolutely do not keep running the game as if nothing happened.
So what do they actually do?
The ALT's job is safety first. They are to use one clear limit phrase, like no hitting, stop, and then immediately involve the Japanese homeroom teacher.
This is where the manual provides a Japanese coordination bank.
Yes, I love this part.
It gives these English teachers specific Japanese phrases to use with their co-teachers. Phrases like sensei, wanagashimasu, which means teacher, please help.
Right.
Or naitemasu, he or she is crying. Keiga o shimashita, got hurt.
The cultural nuance of this coordination bank is critical. It specifically includes a professional reminder. It says, Use Japanese to coordinate with staff, not to take control of discipline.
So again, don't be the hero.
Exactly. Using these Japanese phrases isn't about the ALT barking orders or taking over the management of the room. It is about showing deep professional respect to the HRT.
Right.
In Japanese educational culture, harmony and defined roles are paramount. The homeroom teacher knows the child's history, they know the specific class routines, they know the parents, and they know the school's overall disciplinary expectations. The ALT does not.
Knowing when to step back into that red level is actually so much harder than stepping up.
It really is.
When a kid bites someone, your instinct is to jump in, separate them, and manage the crisis. It requires an incredible amount of self-awareness to say, I am not equipped to be the hero here. I need to defer to the expert in the room.
You really have to swallow your pride.
You have to put your ego completely aside and say, Sensei wangai shimasu.
It is the ultimate act of professional collaboration. Recognizing your boundaries makes the entire team stronger and keeps the children safer.
Definitely.
The manual even lists what the ALT should report to the HRT after an emotional incident. What happened, when it happened, what the ALT did. Like naming the feeling and stopping the activity and asking if the school wants them to handle it differently next time.
Just like a debrief.
It is a continuous loop of cross-cultural feedback designed to ensure the Japanese teacher always maintains authority and face.
So we have all these strategies for when things go wrong. We have the fire drills, the puppets, the response ladder for when a kid goes rogue.
Right.
But how does the manual suggest preventing these meltdowns in the first place? It can't just be about reacting to crises.
It is not. This is a crucial pivot in the manual. Emotion coaching shouldn't just be an emergency ripcord you pull when everything is on fire.
Shouldn't just be damage control.
Exactly. It works best when it is woven seamlessly into the normal, everyday rhythm of the lesson. The manual asserts that calm does not have to mean silent. Calm can be musical, it can be physical, it can be playful.
They outline a standard 30-minute lesson arc. Let's break down how they engineer the energy of the room minute by minute.
Let's do it.
Minutes 0 to 5 is the warm-up. The goal is to create safety and predictability with a hello song or a greeting.
Setting the baseline.
Minutes 5 to 10 is vocabulary, introducing feelings with gestures. Minutes 10 to 20 is the game. This is where the energy peaks. And they specifically say to use this time to model turn-taking and losing calmly. My turn, your turn. Good try.
So practicing those social skills.
Yep. Minutes 20 to 25 is craft or worksheet time, using quiet work as an actual regulation break.
Bringing it back down.
And finally, minutes 25 to 30 is the wrap-up. Lowering the energy, singing a breathing song, saying goodbye.
You mentioned a DJ earlier, and that is a perfect framework for this.
Yes, it is exactly like a well-DJ'd playlist at a club.
Yeah.
The DJ does not just blast high-tempo bangers for 3 hours straight. Everyone would be exhausted, sweaty, and leave.
It's too much.
They build the energy up, peak it, and then intentionally cool the room down with a slower track so people can catch their breath.
Right.
This 30-minute lesson plan is managing the central nervous systems of 30 toddlers in the exact same way. You peak their stimulation with the game, and then you intentionally cool them down with the worksheet.
And within that 30-minute arc, the manual provides specific mini routines to help manage those transitions without yelling.
Like what?
There is the tiny freeze, which is used during overexcitement in movement games. The ALT does not scream for quiet. They just say freeze in a low voice, then slow, then sit.
Oh, I like that.
There is watch first, which is a strategy for shy or anxious children, allowing them to stand near the HRT and just observe before being pressured to join.
And the breathing techniques. I absolutely love how physical they make them. They have 3 types of calm-down breaths.
The balloon, the turtle, and the flower.
Yes. The balloon breath, where you say balloon up and expand your hands, then balloon down and relax.
Simple, visual.
The turtle body, where you say turtle slow and physically lower and slow your body movements.
Right.
And the flower breath, where you pretend to smell a flower and then blow out a candle.
The flower breath is actually a brilliantly disguised physiological hack.
Okay, tell me more about that.
When you pretend to blow out a candle, you are forcing a long, slow exhalation. In terms of neurobiology, an exhalation that is longer than the inhalation stimulates the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve.
Yes. The vagus nerve then sends a signal to the heart to slow down, which actively engages the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and digest mode.
Wow, so you're literally hacking their biology.
Yes. It turns abstract emotional regulation into a tangible biological game. It is somatic experiencing for toddlers. It gets them out of their panic minds and back into their physical bodies.
The manual includes a sample microactivity called the Mogu feeling check to build this in.
How does that one work?
The teacher shows emotion cards, points to themselves, says, "I am happy," and lets the children point to cards to show how they feel. But there is a massive design note attached to this activity.
The manual emphasizes, do not make emotions a performance test. A feeling check is a safe routine, not a speaking exam.
That distinction is so vital.
It really is.
If you force a shy, nervous kid to stand up in front of 30 peers and loudly declare, "I am happy" in perfect English grammar, you are inducing anxiety, not checking their feelings. You are triggering the smoke alarm.
Exactly. The goal is for the teacher to gauge the room's mood. If it is a sleepy class, you start the lesson gently. If they are hyper and excited, you plan to use that tiny freeze cue early on.
You adapt to them,
The emotional state of the room dictates the flow of the play, not the other way around.
which is a brilliant structure. But as we all know, ALTs are human beings.
We all are.
And humans under pressure often make very predictable errors, usually fueled by the absolute best of intentions. Let's explore this section called Good Intentions, Bad Outcomes, and what I like to call the science of the calm adult.
The manual dedicates a whole section to common ALT mistakes. And most of these mistakes aren't malicious. They come from genuinely wanting to help or wanting the lesson to succeed.
Right.
For example, the #1 mistake is saying, do not cry.
So what does this all mean? Why is do not cry our default setting as adults?
Why do you think?
I think if we are brutally honest with ourselves, we want the crying to stop for our comfort, not the child's.
It's hard to hear.
The cry is loud, it is disruptive, it makes us feel like we are losing control of the room, and makes us feel like we are failing at making the kids happy. So we immediately say, "Don't cry, you're okay, shh."
The manual points out exactly why this is a problem. It dismisses the feeling and can actually increase the child's distress.
Because they feel ignored.
Think about it from the child's perspective. If a child is terrified and the giant adult towering over them, the person supposed to keep them safe, says, "You're fine, don't cry," the child's brain thinks, not only am I in danger, but the adult protecting me does not even see the danger.
Oh my God.
I need to pry harder to warn them.
That makes so much sense.
The better choice, as the manual suggests, is sad. It is okay. Breathe with me. You validate the reality of the distress before trying to alleviate it.
Another common mistake is talking too much. We covered that the child's brain just can't process the lecture.
Right?
Then there is joking too soon. You see a kid trip, they get frustrated and embarrassed, and you try to make a goofy face to make them laugh and forget about it.
The manual warns that joking too soon can feel like the adult is mocking them.
Oh, right, because they're genuinely upset.
The child is experiencing genuine pain or humiliation, and the adult is laughing. It breaks trust. You have to validate the hurt or frustration first and play later.
Or forcing participation. Come on, come join the circle. It's fun. It turns simple shyness into a massive power struggle.
Which is completely unnecessary.
The better choice is watch first. Try later. It gives the child agency over their own body.
There is a really fascinating part in this section about flawed logic that adults use to justify bad behavior. The manual provides a clear correction for a common trap.
What's the trap?
If an ALT says, he was angry, so hitting was understandable, what is wrong with that sentence?
I mean, that sounds like empathy, right? You're understanding why they hit.
The manual states, the logic is weak, the feeling is understandable, the hitting is still unsafe. Separate the two.
Ah, there's that boundary again.
It is a profound psychological insight wrapped in incredibly simple training language. It demands that the adult maintain the boundary between the internal state, which is biological and always acceptable, and the external behavior, which must be regulated for the safety of the community.
And that brings us to what I think is the most profound insight in the entire document. It says, the ALT's emotional tone matters. A calm adult nervous system helps children borrow calm. Your face, pace, volume, and body position often matter more than the words themselves.
Borrow calm. It perfectly encapsulates the neurobiological process of co-regulation.
Co-regulation, explain that.
A child's nervous system is physically immature. They literally do not have the neural pathways in their prefrontal cortex fully developed to self-soothe a massive spike in cortisol and adrenaline.
You just can't do it alone.
When an adult steps into their space with a frantic, loud, panicked energy, "Oh no, stop crying, what's wrong, don't hit," the child's mirror neuron system latches onto that panic.
Mirror neurons.
Mirror neurons are cells in the brain that fire both when you act and when you observe the same action performed by another. If they observe panic, their brain mirrors panic. The fire gets bigger.
But if the adult steps in slowly,
Exactly. If the adult lowers their body to eye level, softens their face, and speaks in a low rhythmic tone, the child's mirror neurons latch onto that stability.
oh wow.
The child's rapid heartbeat begins to sync with the adult's slower heartbeat. They borrow the adult's regulatory capacity until their own brain can catch up.
It is like being a lightning rod. You ground the excess electrical energy of the room.
That's exactly it.
The manual includes a scenario debrief section for training role plays. And if you look at the questions they use to judge what a good response looks like, it really redefines what a successful English lesson actually is.
The assessment questions do not ask, did the child use correct subject-verb agreement?
Right.
They ask, did the ALT notice the emotion before correcting behavior? Did the ALT use simple English and gestures? Did the ALT validate the feeling without accepting unsafe behavior? Did they avoid forcing the child to speak?
It shifts the entire metric of success from linguistic performance to emotional connection and psychological safety.
Which, ironically, is the exact foundational environment required for long-term linguistic performance anyway.
Oh, right. Because of the affective filter.
By prioritizing emotional safety, they are optimizing the brain for language acquisition, even if it feels like they are pausing the teaching in that specific moment.
We have spent all this time talking about Japanese kindergartens, flashcards, and homeroom teachers. But if you look closely at this manual, Big Feelings, Small Learners is actually a blueprint for every human interaction.
It really is.
It proves that true connection does not require a shared spoken language or perfect grammar. It just requires a shared humanity, a willingness to observe, and the restraint to offer warmth instead of immediate discipline.
It is a remarkable framework for cross-cultural, cross-linguistic care. It strips communication down to its biological roots.
And that leaves me with one final, lingering thought for you to take away. We just spent this time discussing how observing, validating, using stripped-down simple language, and offering a calm nervous system to borrow works miraculously well for a frustrated toddler throwing a toy. But I want you to think about your own life. How might applying these exact same principles of low language, high warmth, change the way you handle a heated conflict with your partner?
Oh, that's a good question.
Or a tense misunderstanding with a coworker? Or even how you handle your own inner critic when you make a mistake? Because at the end of the day, underneath the adult vocabulary and the professional titles, we're all just operating on a nervous system that sometimes desperately needs to borrow a little calm.
Something to think about next time the smoke alarm goes off.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We will catch you next time.